Hey everybody, Wastelander here, and I am bringing you an episode from another role-playing series that I am in on the same Discord server. As I said before, I'm trying to be a little more active, and so this is what I'm doing. But this is a 5e game being run by my good friend Nightly Umbreon, and I thank him for is personally giving me permission for so that I could actually post this game. I don't think I would have really needed it but it's still nice to know that I have that from my good friend Nightly. But his game has been pretty fun and interesting, and I hope that you'll see and understand how it's been fun and interesting for me in this first episode of Virtues 7. Enjoy. So, this adventure takes place around the same time as Trials of the Forsaken on the world of Eubian. Eubian. Dang it, I mispronounced my own world. How embarrassing is that? It's on a smaller island just south of Ultima, and it's called Settalon. And for my character, Raida, it all started when she was first born, or at least a little later when her parents died under mysterious circumstances. And she was left on the doorstep of an old family friend named Dareth. Now, truthfully, the friendship between her parents and Dareth had grown a little sour, and Dareth started going into the world of crime. And in that, he soon became the head of a rather large crime organization. So, as Raida knows him, Uncle Dareth didn't exactly treat her the best. Sure, she was cared for, but her uncle didn't exactly do much for her. But he did train and teach her a little bit, but these were things of shadow and darkness, of thievery and cunning. She was taught to be a great thief, but it was all so that he could use her. She was taught to look after herself, to look after number one. Not only that, she was also taught that there were pretty much only two kinds of people: tools and competition. If you weren't using them to get what you wanted, then they were working against you. It was almost like a race or some other kind of competition, a sport in some cases. But when Raven was grown up, at least old enough to be on her own, she left. She knew that she would be hunted down and killed by various enforcers because, well, you weren't exactly supposed to leave. Now, uh, pretty much, she really wanted to get away, and she did. She got away far away as she could, and she found herself in a small town, just hiding out in an abandoned little warehouse. And she got a letter. Not exactly how this letter got to her, but uh, pretty much it was a job offer, way to get some quick cash. She didn't exactly know what kind of skills would be needed, but considering it reached her, someone who is a thief, she thought it would be something that would obviously require such fine skills. So she went to the location inscribed, which was a small lodge on the other side of town. And on the way there, she ran into a half elf blood hunter named Holkeith. Now, when Raida met Holkeith, Raida started to eye Holkeith's items, everything that they had, seeing whatever they could pick off. And one of the things that they noticed more greatly than anything else, so much that it kind of distracted her, was Holkeith's big sword. Now, Holkeith noticed and pretty much kind of gave Raida a little warning. You shouldn't really be looking at my stuff if you want to be taking anything. Raida then cleverly kind of covers it up a little bit, saying that they were wondering how someone such as Holkeith could swing that big sword. Because, well, Raida had never handled such a big sword, and, Raida and Holkeith were, as far as anybody else knows, close to the same size. They both went into the lodge where the work was, and where the message came from. And looking around, apparently it was the owners that wanted the help. And Raida later realized that it would be a very permanent job offer. She would pretty much be a permanent helping hand, but she wouldn't be working the bar or anything. So Raida and Holkeith were sent down to the sewers to collect dire rabbit and badger pelts for the upholstery, for their furniture and whatnot, to help decorate. Which is kind of interesting. So they went down there. Raida kind of tries going in behind Holkeith because Holkeith seems to be the more sturdy fighter, and Raida is rolling high on her stealth. Right now, Raida at like level 1 has a +7 in stealth, and she's sneaking around like no problem. Well, they killed some giant moths, and then they started fighting some dire rats when they ran into Q. Q was a human warlock, and he kind of helped out a little bit, and he burned one of the rats, which Raida wasn't exactly all too pleased about because they were going to skin the rat and get some more cash out of that thing. So things started out a little heatedly, but there's another thing. Before this whole thing happened, Raida had a strange dream, and Q was in that dream. Now, a bunch of crazy stuff happened, but she also met a demon, and, well, it's a devil, actually. Don't tell Q. He gets rather upset when you call devils demons. Well, the devil was actually, in some ways, almost like another deity. This devil was the devil of prey. And, well, since Raida was trying to hide, she was being chased. Raida was in some ways prey. So this devil offered her help and gave Raida a mask. Now, this mask does quite a few things, but the one thing that it does that Raida knows is when you put it on and think of someone specific, everybody else around you sees you as that person for a short amount of time. But otherwise, it just hides your face. Now, when Raida woke up, she still had this mask. Very creepy. Well, anyhow, Q had something very similar. He had an amulet of a little skull. It looked like a wolf pup's skull, a miniature wolf pup skull. Now, this skull was very, very special. This amulet connected him to another devil, which was actually married to the devil of prey. So there's several connections there already. Oh, goodness. Well, anyhow, this devil was one that passed judgment on sinners, big time sinners, mob bosses, serial killers, and anything big, really. Well, and Q here was more or less his disciple, and he went around doing this devil's business. And the amulet didn't just connect him to the devil with communicative links, but it also offered a way for him to determine whether someone was innocent or guilty and, uh, well, worthy of death, you could say. If Q held it up and pointed it at someone and it glowed blood red, that means that they were very much worthy of death. Uh, but if they pointed at someone and it glowed, black, they were innocent, and you didn't need to worry about them. Now, thankfully, he didn't use it here, but they had two different reasons for being down there. Raida and Halkeith were down there to collect pelts. Meanwhile, Q was only down there to, look for sinners, and also to map out the sewer, which he was actually doing pretty good with. But they went their separate ways. They continued their Halkeith and Raida continued on their path, and Raida was still rolling pretty good on stealth. Now Q was actually with them for just a short while to continue mapping out the sewers, and Raida sneaks up behind Q and steals one of Q's little pouches, not knowing what's inside. And when Raida opens up the pouch, it's got a bunch of worthless junk used to cast spells, which is completely worthless to Raida. So so she rolls a pretty decent sleight of hand and puts it right back where it was, and nobody notices that it was even gone in the first place. That's probably been about the first amazing thing that I've done with this character. Really, it's really great. Well, they continued to the next room and came across two dire rabbits with a chest on the far end. And Raida, being the rogue she is, she tries to sneak past these two rabbits to get to the chest. But instead, she gets seen by one of the rabbits, and combat ensues. Well, not exactly a whole lot interesting going on with this battle. There were a few wounds taken, but the rabbits were dead. Nobody else was seriously injured, and Q went his separate way after that. And as Halkeith was skinning these dire rabbits, Raida went and unlocked the chest, opened it up, shoveled everything into her bag, and replaced it with a silver coin. And it was a really, really good sleight of hand check. Nobody would have known that there was anything else in there but a silver coin. And inside the chest were 4 matches that, if lit, would light anything that you were looking at. The matches themselves didn't exactly light, though. They were kind of like cursed matches. There was also a dark, charred wood wand that makes any corpse try to cook itself. A few healing potions and a seed of the moon block, seed of the ice block. I don't remember what it was, but it's a seed that pretty much makes water freeze, or when swallowed, freezes somebody to death. It's a seed that you can freeze things with. That's pretty much about what it is. Well, still, that just to really pull this off, Raida put on a face of disappointment and acted all surprised that only a silver coin was there. And, well, Whole Keith was none the wiser. No one suspected a thing. So they continued, and they came across another chest, and Raida pulls the same thing, goes over, unlocks the chest, and does the same thing, except for inside this chest was a cursed guitar that bonded to her as soon as she touched it. Now, this guitar was special, and you'll see why. You'll see why in a minute. But they continue on. Nobody knows that Raida's been swapping everything out of chests with a silver coin, and this is the second time it's happened, and nobody notices a thing just yet. And they continue to the next room that has 2 dire rabbits and a dire badger, with yet another room all the way on the other end. Another chest. Gosh, I'm slipping up today. Well, Raida tries to sneak again, almost makes it, but is caught by the dire badger, who notifies the rabbits, and combat breaks out again. Now, Raida kind of realizes that it was the dire badger that gave her away, and is really, really annoyed by this. So, on her turn, she takes her short bow, snaps around, releases a quick shot at the dire badger. Critical hit. Almost max damage. Outright kills the thing. And you know the good thing about DMs, when there's a good DM and you do a critical, or you just outright kill the thing, or just get the final hit, a good DM will go, how do you want to do this? And you know what? The arrow hit the badger right between the eyes and had enough force behind it to go all the way through and have the arrowhead sticking out its rear. I skewered the darn thing. It went straight through, and if I wanted to, I could pull that arrow back out of its rear. But as combat continues, there's quite a lot of damage taken between Whole Keith, who's being slapped around by the 2 rabbits, and then Raida tries to help and is also, taking quite a lot of damage. This isn't their time. And as Raida starts to decrease in her health, a voice in her mind speaks. Play the guitar. And she's wondering, I'm about to die. Why do I want to play a stupid guitar when I'm about to die? The voice says, trust me, it's going to help. Play the darn guitar, and just play the first thing that comes into your mind. So Raida gives in. She puts her weapon away, pulls out the guitar, and starts playing. And it's the guitar that she took from earlier. And this is the reason why it's special. Because as soon as she starts playing, the guitar picks up on her and forces her to play the iCarly theme song. But the good news is, it heals her and Whole Keith 1d6 hit points. Now, Whole Keith is back up from being down, and Raida was just healed a little bit. So, but Raida is really annoyed with this guitar. As useful as it is, she doesn't like it, and she tries to break it over one of the dire rabbit's heads, saying, frig this thing. and the guitar stops in midair, not even allowing her to bash something's head in with it. And she doesn't like it. She doesn't like it. And after a little conflict with the voice in her head, she decides this might actually be useful right before she gets knocked out by the dire rabbit. Now, remember that mask and the devil that came with it? Now, there's another very special thing that happens. Well, the devil, the mask connects to that devil. And so it's a very great connection, and the devil is also able to come through that mask. Now, the devil is also a wild mage. So we don't know what the heck is going to happen when the devil comes out. But luck is on my side, and the DM rolls a couple of D100s, and it is perfect. This is like the best luck I've had in this whole game. And it's really lucky for this reason. When the DM rolled, he rolled Dimension Door, Healing, and Gravity spells. So when that devil came out, what the devil cast Dimension Door to come out, cast Healing on Raida, and then crushed the dire rabbits with the Gravity spell. Boy, this was immense help. So after that, Raida stood up like nothing happened and went to the chest and did the exact same thing as the other two chests. Now, at this point, nobody knows the full extent of what Raida's taken, but at this point, Q comes back. Now, you're probably wondering what the heck Q was doing. And I'll tell you, while the party was down in the sewers fighting all these dire rabbits and whatnot, well, he was off doing his own thing. He went back to the surface into town and found himself a sinner to kill. Now, this sinner was a tiefling who was charming men to be her slaves. After figuring this out, Q fooled her, followed her, offered to be her slave, and had a very big fight. Q almost died. And then, well, his devil actually helped him out, healed him, got him back up on his feet, and he brutally murdered her. And then he went to a doctor, got himself healed up, and went back down to the sewers where he found us. Now, remember that amulet that he has that I told you about? Yeah, he used it on us. He pointed it over at Holkeith first, and Holkeith was black. She was clean. She's fine. But he points it at me, Raida. And you know what it turns? Not red, but not black. It turns kind of a light gray. After that, Q kind of just flat out accused Raida of stealing everything from the unclaimed chests. Those chests aren't claimed. Now, I know there's a bunch of controversy behind this, and I'm just going to spit it out right now what half of you guys are thinking and have been thinking this whole time that I've been telling you that Raida has been stealing from the party, technically, if you really want to put it that way, but nobody's claimed anything yet. But I bet I know what you're all thinking. You're part of a party, you're supposed to be sharing all your loot. Or at least that's kind of what it is. Well, you probably all know the rogue stereotype. Right now, that's kind of what Raida is. That's going to change as soon as she bonds with the party a bit more, but that hasn't happened yet. I'm going with my character, I'm going with roleplay, and the party isn't Raida's friend right now. She is not friends with the party, and right now they're just tools. That hurts. That hurts. I really know it hurts, but this is Raida we're talking about. She's been raised this way. If they're not tools, they're competition. And you should only ever be looking out for yourself. But there's a bit of an argument between Q and Raida. You should be. He's taking the side that probably half of you are taking, which is you need to be sharing your items with the rest of the party. And as this argument goes on, the two devils pop out and have a small discussion, and both agree that Raida's loot that she's taken needs to be split 3 ways. Well, the devils have spoken. The devils disappear, and the first thing Holkeith says is, well, the first thing Holkeith kind of mentions is that she's a blood hunter, and that she's supposed to be fighting fiends. Devils are kind of a fiend, so this is kind of starting to go downhill right here. Because Q and I, both have devils for friends, and Holkeith is supposed to be hunting them. So the Holkeith kind of just says, keep them in check and we won't have a problem. Okay. Well, after that, Raida actually pulls out some of the items she's taken, but not all of them, and offers them to both Q and Raida, who both refuse to accept anything. Really? After all that fuss of not sharing loot, and you're going, we don't want it? Really? Well, after all of this, Raida and Holkeith went back to the lodge and were paid and given rooms. And as everybody goes their separate ways, Holkeith over to a blood hunter safe house, and Raida goes out for a walk. Well, thanks guys for watching. This was a very fun 5e game being run by my good friend Knight. And if you guys want to join in some of the fun, just join the Discord. You can either join a game that's running right now, or you can start one yourself. The Discord is open to both Pathfinder and D&D 5e games. So just whatever you fancy, I suppose. As long as you have enough player interest, you can start a game. And I'll probably be doing quite a bit of this, putting up stories from adventures that I'm from parties and groups that I'm in. So just have fun. I might also be doing a small series of just random moments and stories that people post on the Discord in the D&D story section. So just if you want to have something put up, I'll be perfectly fine with that, and I can get something up. But until then, I'll be seeing you in the next episode. Bye.